Welcome, gentlemen. Once again, you are welcome to discussion which is conducted by International Council of Industrial Security and Safety Management. Today's topic is about Afghanistan and kind of dirty role Pakistan is playing there. While ISI Chief General Faiz Hameed was in Kabul, the paid mercenaries and regular napak soldiers attacked Panjshir. The ISI imprints are clearly visible in Kabul and beyond. The Taliban and Hakkani Network is strained, supported and sustained by Pakistan. Such blatant interference in other countries' internal affairs has not been seen in the world so far. Turkey is lurking behind with gleeful anticipation, and dangerous dragon is waiting impatiently. Today, we are discussing the entire spectrum of Afghanistan turmoil. Col SC Tyagi is highly acclaimed author of the book Kargil Victory, Battle from Peak to Peak. He has seen entire Kargil conflict upfront and close. On his volunteering to go to Kargil War, GOC 15 Corps was taken aback, but permitted him to go, and he promised that he will bring back unadulterated report of war. He was the founder commandant of 15 Corps Battle School, known for his astute commentaries on geopolitical matters, especially conflicts in Asian region. He is well established and regarded defense analyst who writes regularly for leading global newspapers and magazines. His articles are mainly on geopolitics, foreign affairs, and national security. The YouTube live discussion is brought by International Council for Industrial Security and Safety Management, which is purely non-commercial forum. We welcome all security and safety professionals world over from diverse backgrounds and encourage them to interact freely by asking the questions, replying them, and sharing knowledge and experience. This is one such endeavor. So once again, welcome Colonel Satish Tyagi. You
Thank
have
you.
uh, you have seen conflicts. You have written extensively on conflict resolution and also on reasons and causes of developing conflicts and wars. You have also written extensively, most recently on Afghanistan. So our viewers would be interested to know from experts like you how you see the fermenting of problems, developing, escalating, and finally in the magnitude and dimension which we see today in Afghanistan. Please.
Yeah. Thank you, Shashi. First of all, let me thank you immensely for uh, inviting me to this forum of yours, ICISS, which is one of the most prestigious ones. And I feel honored to be part of this today. At the outset, let me tell you frankly that I'm not an expert on Afghanistan. Yes, I am following the events in Afghanistan and been writing about it. Therefore, uh, a certain amount of knowledge which could be passed on to those who may not know those many details. I would be covering my discussion mostly to cover the geostrategic, geopolitical, economic importance of Afghanistan by putting its geography in its place, that where Afghanistan stands and what are the countries or what are the neighbors who have interests in it, and to what extent are they embedded into this country. So, to thereafter, I would also like to cover certain that what are the interests of these countries, neighboring countries, which are or the countries which are not even neighbors, but then have some interest in Afghanistan. What interests are those? Then, what led to the Americans leave the soil of Afghanistan? What is the involvement of ISI? What is the involvement of Pakistan? Does it have the same amount of hold on Afghanistan as we all believe, or is it waning? Or are we giving too much of importance to to Pakistan, or giving them too much of credit for everything what they do, or considering them almighty and be able to? So therefore, uh, thereafter, I would also take you on to what may lie in the future ahead. So this would be the complete spectrum which I thought I would cover. However, there may be certain questions which I would be glad to answer. So to begin with, let me give some perspective to the what Afghanistan is, where we all know that it is onto the west of India. But then there are routes which converge from Middle East, from the Far East, from Tarim Basin, Taklamakan Desert. The Tarim Basin is in south of Xinjiang. So a very narrow strip on the northwest tip of India, which is in POK at this moment, which is part of the POK today. So this Tarim Basin passes through a certain belt, uh, uh, connects, not passes through, connects the uh, China, Chinese territory, and then leads on to Afghanistan. Then there are these Eurasian steppe mountains, the valley, where you see that Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and then on to further going west down below is the Iran. So there is this gives a very important strategic geostrategic location of Afghanistan. It is considered to be was considered to be the gateway to India earlier, and it was impinging on the Silk Road,
Right.
which carried trade from the Mediterranean to China. Now, when you look at the map of Afghanistan, you would see there is only one road which connects the entire all the major cities in Afghanistan. That is the road. It looks like a necklace, or you can call it like the outer ring road, if I may give this nomenclature. It connects Afghanistan to Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan in Central Asia. In the north, Peshawar and Quetta in the south, and in turn, they can be linked to Gwadar and Karachi in Pakistan. So this road, let's say from Kabul, come down to Ghazni, and then it goes. I wish I had a map which I could show it to you. Nonetheless, I would describe it from Kabul to Ghazni, and then to Kandahar in the south, and Dilaram, and then Herat on the west, and then likewise, uh, then Mazar-e Sharif is in the north, and Kunduz. So all these important areas or the provinces which fall in these are connected through this road. You would be glad to know that India took up a construction of road in Afghanistan. Most of us are aware of it, but let me spell it down. Where does it lead to? This is 2006. The construction started and was completed in 2011. It built a road from Dilaram. Now Dilaram is again southwest of in Afghanistan, via Jaranj to Jabul, and culminating at Jahedan in Iran, thereby connecting India. Thereby, we having a possibility, the India having a possibility connecting to Chabahar and Bandar Abbas for trade. So it's a very important road which was constructed by the government of India. Now, when we look at Afghanistan, uh, uh, nothing grows there. Anybody passing through that place, anybody coming to that country, nobody came to Afghanistan to rule there. As a matter of fact, Alexander, when it passed through Afghanistan, sorry, he had said that a snake's venom and tiger's teeth are less harmful than the revenge of Afghans. So the Afghans were considered to be that fearsome people that nobody dared to come there. Only opium and dry fruits are the productions of that, are the major source of earnings. And not very many surveys have been carried out. You see, there, there was some survey in 2006 that the Americans carried out, and they said that there is a large deposit of iron, gold, and silver worth $1 trillion. Although Taliban claims about $3 trillion of uh, uh, minerals in Afghanistan. China has got a copper mine which from 2006 onwards, which has not yet started functioning. It's only the mining has not started. And 40% of the total income of Taliban used to come from opium. Incidentally, Taliban is one of the richest, fifth richest terrorist organization in the world. Their last year's budget was $1.6 billion, while Afghanistan's total this thing was 2.6 or something like that. If my figures may not be very accurate, but just to give you a perspective, I'm saying the 85% of opium of the world is produced, heroin in the world is from Afghanistan. So see the importance and the amount of uh, uh, money it generates for the drug warlords and the people and the Taliban people who misuse it. You would be amazed to realize that in today's world, 82% of its population is below poverty line, and GDP is almost $1.5 dollars US dollars per day. So the Afghanistan has nothing to offer other than the opium and dry fruits, and the people uh, who are some of them like Taliban's who are exporting terrorism to the rest of the world. The ethnic composition of Afghanistan, if we look at it, is Pashtuns are 42%, so which is a very large population. And you would let me add here itself that in in West Pakistan, on the western border, the FATA area region, uh, the Pashtuns are right up to, I mean, starting from the border, Duran line, uh, there are Pashtuns, even in large number of Pashtuns who compose part of Islamabad. So there is an ethnic disposition of Pashtuns, which are 42% in Afghanistan. And incidentally, the Taliban's are, most of them are Pashtuns. The Tajiks are 27%. Hajaras are 9% in Afghanistan, and Uzbeks are 8%. There are others, the rest are 14% are the uh, other other communities. So, uh, before I go on to the historic, a little more background, it's not only the Alexander and the Archimedes who came in the earlier part of the. Just let me have a look at the thing. Ashmedes Empire in 500 BC. We will not go that far, the Alexander and all that. I will begin by that June 1747, Ahmad Shah Abdali secured Afghanistan by taking Kandahar, Ghazni, Kabul, and Peshawar. He had raised his hand against Nadir Shah, who was coming from the west, and but somehow joined hands later on with Nadir Shah. And when Nadir Shah came to India and was returning back from, they invaded right up to, they took control of Kashmir and some regions in Punjab. And total number of invasions which they carried out were, I think, about 4 or 5 times. They quit Delhi with a and but permitted the Mughal emperor, who was at that time in 1757, Alamgir II, to remain in nominal control as long as he acknowledged the Ahmad Shah's suzerainty over the region south of Indus. This is the time when Nadir Shah was so impressed with Ahmad Shah Abdali that he had predicted that after I die, you would be the next king, you would be the next ruler. And as luck would have it, his he was murdered by his own guards, and uh, Kohinoor on his fingertips was taken away by Ahmad Shah Abdali. Now, Ahmad Shah Abdali changed his surname, the last name. He gave himself a title of Shah Dure Durran. The Shah Dure Durran was the which over a period of time has now we refer to him as Durrani. So Ahmad Shah Durrani. So now the Kohinoor passed away from India and went through Afghanistan, and the later history is known. The At that time, Peshawar used to be the winter capital of Afghanistan, and Kabul, instead of Kabul, Kandahar was the capital. But later on, Kabul was accepted. And if you look at it today, bringing it to the current times, even Taliban is now was interested in taking the capital, shifting the capital from Kabul to Kandahar, which was not denied. So, so this is where I thought a little bit of history, little bit of geography would be in, which I thought little background to understand. And I must also quickly add here about the Durand line, because this will come into play very shortly. And as a matter of fact, it is playing a very important, very important role today, because Durand line is the line which was set in 1893, when the political border of India, Sir Mortimer Durand was sent by Lord Lansdowne to Kabul, to the Amir of Afghanistan, and they settled for a boundary. How it was decided? It was dividing the Pashtuns in two parts. The inner line of the boundary was settled along the districts of northwest frontier province of Pakistan, and the boundary, in fact, of British India proper, as it's known as the administrative border at that time, was finishing there, and the outer line was the boundary between the Indian Empire and the Afghanistan, which is commonly known as the Durand Line. Now, the this delineation was followed along the tribal boundaries, which the Taliban today does not. They say that let all the Pashtuns unite. Now, this tribal boundaries were separating the tribes which went to the market to Peshawar, Kohat, Bannu, Tang, and Quetta, versus those who were going their economic links with Khorasan, those having or those going back to Kabul or Ghazni or Kandahar to the market towns. So people who were depending on these towns for their sustenance or for the markets were onto the Afghanistan side, and the people who were depending on Peshawar, Kohat, Bannu, Tank, and Quetta. So what I'm trying to bring out is uh, the ethnicity of this entire region, and the simmering conflict in the minds of the Taliban and the people of Afghanistan, because mostly they are Pashtuns, that the other side, Peshawar, Kohat, Bannu, Tank, Quetta, Swat, all this area, especially after Pakistan has launched offensives there, have carried out accesses there, have have not allowed the people there to carry on with their day-to-day life in a peaceful manner. So there is a very strong feeling within the uh, Taliban community today, or the Afghans today, that that part belongs to us, and let that division, let Durand line, this Durand line, we do not uh, agree. King Amanullah was thrown in 1929 and succeeded by King Nadir Shah, and then father of King Jahir Shah, who is today known as the last Afghan monarch. And the letters which were exchanged between the Afghan government and the Great Britain unambiguously reaffirmed the 1921 treaty, which accepted Durand Line. But here is the division. Here is the genesis of the conflict, which is going to play out very shortly. As a matter of fact, the first few shots have already been fired. So that is one aspect which I thought I have covered. Now, you may ask any relevant questions, or lead me on to the next part of the discussion. I
One observation and one query.
Yeah.
When you mentioned about demography of Afghanistan, you mentioned about Hazara. Today they are 9%. Hazaras are 9% today. But about 35 years back, they were said to be constituting 27% of total Afghan population. So there has been ethnic cleansing very systematically done, reducing Hazaras to 9% from 27% of population. And behind this were Pashtun. Pashtun all along never agreed for Durand. And it was not even agreed later on by Pakistan. And India, in any case, could not say agree or disagree because had no role in making unilateral statement. But then
Internal.
today, they are two different bodies of similar character and temperament. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Taliban of Afghanistan both agree on Durand line so far as opposing it is concerned.
Hmm.
So I see that the Durand line is the binding factor of two different sides of Taliban, and role of Pakistan is very precarious because either they agree with the Durand line and antagonize Afghanistan, or they do not agree and still antagonize Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. So this is a complex situation. I wanted to know here, so that uh, today's Taliban is version 2. 20 years back, the Taliban started on same subjects. Their concerns were same, their objections were same. So how do you see the difference? Is there difference, if at all?
Okay, yeah, I take your point. I'll just one or two points which you initially mentioned about the Hajaras cleansing. Uh, the character of Afghans is, I think it is Churchill who had mentioned this, uh, that uh, that if there are two brothers, they will fight with each other. If the brothers are together, they'll fight with their father, and if not with the father, then they will fight with the local community, and the local community will be fighting uh, with the bigger, so the warlords start coming in into the this thing. So it is the basic character of Afghans to fight it out with each other and the domination over the others. And Pashtuns being larger in numbers, the cleansing has taken place. And a country like India has little role to play in it. As a matter of fact, now you see the ethnic composition of Tajiks who are in Panjshir Valley is very much under threat. And they are not with Taliban. It's a very large portion of the Panjshir Valley is now under the ex-vice president of Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh, and Ahmad Shah Massoud, uh, who's the local, who's the commander of the forces there. So we would come to that later. Now, what you said, the difference between the two Afghanistans, I see there is no difference at all. Afghanistan, sorry, in Taliban, I see there is no difference between the two Talibans. Whether version 2 or version 1, Taliban is Taliban. And yes, uh, while others mention, I've been hearing that the Pakistan's role has, Pakistan's hold has increased on the Taliban. I see the diminishing role of Pakistan on the other hand. So this is one minor difference, that as on ascending role of Pakistan's control on or ISI's control on Taliban, the present Taliban, the 2.0, is if you talk to the local, the junior leadership in Taliban today, I have the inputs from Afghanistan in the current situation, and I've been getting some reports which say and suggest that the junior leadership is does not want Pakistan to interfere in the affairs of Afghanistan. So that is the basic difference as I can see. And as regards the potency, whether the present Taliban or the previous Taliban, who's stronger. I see that the Taliban had survived with no recognition almost uh, as version 1.0, except Saudi Arabia, UAE, and one more country, right? Only three countries uh, uh, had recognized Taliban government then. And today, although there are new players in it, for example, Russia has come in, the Chinese have come in. No, nobody has yet, although given their official recognition yet. But I see the potency of the current Taliban is not as much as it was. It is a depleted force at the moment, and whether it is going to be able to regain that kind of will depend upon the uh, amount of financial inflows into Afghanistan, which at the moment I see have been, or you see have been uh, blocked. So that is what I had to say on your question. Yeah.
So Taliban is recognized or not recognized in international community. That apart, but Taliban today recognize Pakistan as unnecessarily interfering in their affairs. The
Yes.
Taliban general has made a statement which is being referred very repeatedly on various channels.
Yeah.
So it kind of supports your initial views, not today's discussion, but elsewhere also, that you saw very limited role of Pakistan in Afghanistan's development. But question is that the way Pakistan is playing, maybe not directly, but all those Afghans assembling in POK and China's support in the background, we see it that Pakistan is going to be a very disturbing factor in the region. So even when they are not directly, Pakistan is not directly involved or have reduced role today, but Afghanistan is some issue which is not going to be settled anytime soon. So how you see the whole situation impacting Asian peace and security?
Yeah, you see, what you have rightly said, that there is a threat to uh, the terrorism coming from Afghanistan to the Indian soil in Kashmir. But I very largely discount it. I am of a very strong view. As a matter of fact, it's not Kashmir which is threatened. I find Islamabad needs to work. Why? There is a bigger threat to Islamabad today than to Kashmir. The reason? The situation which I just explained, what the Pashtuns want to unite from both the sides, and Tehrik-e-Taliban party, which is on this side of the Dudin line, is have you noticed in the last 1 month, I was trying to get a stats for the uh, number of explosions which have taken in that area of Pakistan. There were almost about 36 explosions in a month, incidents in a month. And as some of my friends have told me that in Pakistan, there is a gag over the media that do not talk about them, do not write about them. And it has got to be only once it is ISPR approved, then you are able to give selected news. So Pakistan is facing today tremendous amount of problem of the internal situation, which is vis-a-vis Afghanistan. The terrorism, their what they thought can export to India or other countries is biting themselves. They are finding it extremely difficult to contain it. The other part is you said that they are assembling in POK. But when I discussed a little bit of geography of there is no part of Afghanistan which, in today's context, touches uh, Kashmir. It's every movement has to take place through the Pakistan, the country of Pakistan, length and breadth of Pakistan. So the movement will take place, if at all, when you say that the Taliban would export terrorism to Kashmir, they have to travel on the ground through Pakistan, or they would be flown, but that would be in very few numbers. So when they uh, now Pakistan today is facing tremendous amount of problems with regard to uh, uh, not allowing their territory because of the FATF, uh, 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 the monitoring which is taking place, which says that if you allow, then uh, uh, the funds or the debt which Pakistan needs to be given uh, uh, will not be given. So they are under pressure as regards they do not have funds for themselves. They cannot fight. They do you think? I'm sorry. The ISI would they get their funds through Middle East, and certain countries which were with Pakistan earlier, where the major donors are not there today with them. I wouldn't like to name. So, what I see paucity of funds, the situation in Pakistan internally, and the FATF pressure and the international pressure, all this boils down to uh, other than providing training. Yes, people in Afghanistan can get trained, but migration, I see there is only very little window available before the passes close. Now, another 1 month, so maximum inflow of terrorists, if at all, has to take place, would take place now. Just about 2 3 days back, there was a major uh, 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 the terrorists were gunned down by the Indian security forces. So, seeing this, I find that movement of or exporting uh, the terrorists from Afghanistan to Kashmir will not be as much as we are crediting it or granting it to Pakistan. I think we are granting far too much to Pakistan. Pakistan is today in no capacity. Their Prime Minister Imran Khan is wanting $1 billion to plant 1 billion trees to create a tree tsunami. So I don't see. Uh, uh, they do not have money. They're selling their fleets of cars. So I wonder from where would that money come? Afghanistan is choked. the ban on funds by the international community. IMF is closed. Americans have frozen their assets. So billions of dollars of Afghanistan, nothing. Afghanistan needs help at this moment. What the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has just said in the UN Assembly, General Assembly.
Sir, here perspective changes from defense analyst to homeland security student. I feel that I am in homeland security field, trying to understand development from my perspective, which is entirely different than yours. You are
Yeah,
from a defense perspective, and you see that it is not likely. And it is very consoling and comforting thought that Pakistan is definitely not in that position to create trouble for India. But I have unlimited trust and confidence in China's nefarious activities. And they do not do the funding the way a country would fund other country. So international monetary fund, whatever you have monetary mechanism, it will not pass through that scrutiny. China would still continue to fund Pakistan as long its purpose is served. And you mentioned slightly about Afghanistan's natural resources, the rare earth, rare material, very expensive, hard to find, but Afghanistan has got very large reserve. And China has already invested about $300 billion. Last time I read somewhere.
31
So,
million.
sir, so this is my way of looking at the Afghanistan and role of Pakistan at the behest of China. So you are not giving any consideration to this kind of. Of course, this is going to be totally disapproved by world community. But is it not the likelihood?
Yeah, I don't deny that you see the nexus which is developing or has been in place for quite some time now, that the Chinese as regards the Afghanistan under Taliban are in the driving seat today. Like what you said, they have invested, they have given an aid to Afghanistan for grains, winter supplies, vaccines, and medicines. Wang Yi, their foreign minister, about US dollar 31 million. So, and China has invested very heavily in Pakistan on the CPAC,
Sure.
economic corridor. China wants that CPAC to be secured, and they are pumping in money, and they are expecting that the BRI project would benefit now that Afghanistan is fallen in their kitty. So the BRI would be extended to the Mediterranean through a lateral route going down to the warm waters through Afghanistan, and so Iran also comes into play. But all these are hopes. But all these are hopes. Yes, China has unlimited kind of funding available to be given to the beneficiaries, and especially when it comes to Pakistan, because they're all weather friend there. So China would fund definitely, but keeping there are other needs as well. Pakistan need to survive. So whether they would eat grass and as proverbial grass, or have the atom bomb. As a matter of fact, what I see that the Pakistan has been playing this boogie of nuclear, war during Kargil war. That if it comes to that,
Surprisingly, Imran Khan Niazi has not mentioned about the nuclear weapon since very long time. It is
Yeah.
a matter of quite disquiet, at least for us, that why he has not mentioned about it. What has happened? Back to Pakistan, sir. Maybe out of ignorance, uh, about a month back, when things were developing in Afghanistan, we had first discussion on Afghanistan, and I asked the question of possibility that today I see Afghanistan actually controlling Pakistan with lot of force, power, and might, understanding Pakistan's vulnerability and the kind of governance they have. So I thought that someday, because of their traditional link and attachment from Panjshir to Peshawar, Peshawar, of course, was historically very dear and close to Afghanistan. So I thought that someday Afghanistan is going to control the large part of Pakistan, and someday it will be one entity, and whatever is left would be Baltistan and maybe uh, what Indian well-wishers think of. So, how do you see it? Is it the pipe dream of SB Tyagi, the ignorant, or is there any possibility?
Well, I, I, I definitely feel that uh, you have your views. I very much support, and it gladdens my heart to hear that, which is supporting my argument as well. That the Afghanistan, uh, if plays its cards right, and if it happens, of course, the beginning is there. The civil war is likely to break out in Afghanistan, and this has got to have ramifications on Pakistan. As you see, TTP and the Pashtun bonding which is taking place, uh, the day is not very far off when such a thing, the Durand line vanishing, and uh, it could well happen. But uh, having said that, there is a caveat. After all, there are nations involved who have interests in Afghanistan, who have interests in Pakistan. So uh, the China is there. There are other countries as well who 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 are looking at stability in Pakistan, who are looking at stability in Afghanistan. So I certainly contribute to the idea that it may well happen. It may not be a surprise, but knowing the status of what Taliban is today, what funding patterns do they have? But like they have brought the Russians, they have down to their knees, like they have made the Americans to withdraw their soil. I feel like the British who went away from Afghanistan. I see Afghanistan claiming their portions in so Islamabad needs to worry. Don't worry about Kashmir. Kashmir is too far off. And Indian army and Indian security forces today are fully equipped to handle any such incidents. It's not sitting idly. So yeah.
Uh, ये बीच में थोड़ा सा ब्लैकआउट हो गया था. इस बीच में
Okay.
एक कमेंट मैं देख रहा था और आपके साथ भी वो शेयर कर देता हूँ.
Yes.
और वो राहत इंदौरी का एक शेर है, बड़ा फेमस शेर है कि
बहुत अच्छी.
लगेगी आग इस घर में तो कई आएंगे मकान इसकी जद में, इस गली में आखिर मेरा मकान थोड़ी है। तो ये अफगानिस्तान में हुआ, पाकिस्तान में होगा, हिंदुस्तान में तो असर पड़ेगा ही, क्योंकि ये जो ज्योग्राफी है और जो हिस्ट्री है वो हमको इनसे अलग नहीं कर सकती। We carry the geography, we carry the history, and we carry lot of bad memories. But then, like you mentioned about Khorasan province, and ISI specifically for Khorasan province is already making their presence felt. And when IS talks about Khorasan, then IS also talks about Ghazwa Hind, because concept of Khorasan is totally dependent on success of Ghazwa Hind, and that Ghazwa Hind is very much dream and ambition of Pakistan and Turkey for Nizam Mustafa, world supremacy for Muslims. So entire thing boils down to a religion which we hate to discuss. In such discussion, we would not be happy to discuss the religion. But then that fact that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has prepared pamphlets, booklets, distributed in Indian mosques, and also made a project called Gajwa Hind known. Even their website still talks about Gajwa Hind. So we come to the end of our discussion to discuss what are the possibilities. We discuss about civil war in Afghanistan,
Round the horizon.
civil war in India.
Can't hear you. There is a
Uh,
like,
I
yeah,
was saying that we have discussed about civil war in Afghanistan.
yeah.
Do we see a possibility of a civil war in India because of that, declared project of making Ghazwa Hind successful? And with
Civil.
Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and IS Khorasan solidly supporting this approach.
No, 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 no. Civil war. You were talking about civil war. No,
Yeah,
there is no question of civil war. Civil war has got bigger connotations. This word cannot be. These words cannot be applied here in India. And there's no civil war. Uh, there is a military war. There is a terrorism war against terror across the border, and we have no question of. Uh, the civil war is when the internal factions start fighting between themselves and and fight against the government, which is not the question in our case at all. We just cannot say that civil war in India. Yes, civil war in Afghanistan is likely to is beginning. Just the other day, 2 days back, there were 7, 8 IS Khorasan, ISK, 8 people were killed cold-blooded, and their pictures were shared. And the very next day, the ISK killed a couple of Taliban people. So the fight between the groups between in Afghanistan, and the Tehreek-e-Taliban party playing its role against the Pakistan government, this is the area which is getting hot. And the as regards the Panjshir and the people in Panjshir Valley, the Tajiks, uh, they have yet not been uh, 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 they have neutralized as by the Talibanis. They are very much a potent force. The Russians had made 9 attacks and finally decided against Panjshir Valley to be captured. So Panjshir Valley is yet not taken over by Taliban. So Taliban is weak, as I say, and there is a very strong possibility. I am saying that within next 30 days, 60 days, you would see we don't have to wait much longer when a civil war breaks out in Afghanistan. It would be a surprise if it doesn't.
So, at the end of today's discussion, I leave the viewers with three very comforting thoughts. One is that India is very solid, dependable, and trustworthy nation in world community. 3 days discussion and those activities we have seen happening in United Nations and Quad. Second is that terrorists are not going to make much impact in India if they try to assemble at POK and cross over to JNK. Weather is already setting in, which will make their efforts not only foolish but also very difficult, almost impossible. Third is that as society, as a country, we have so much of strength and trust and mutual respect and regard for each and every community and religion that civil war is most unlikely, not thought of, totally, uh, uh, I would say,
Out of
discarded,
question.
discarded concept. So it is not likely to happen. So, with these three comforting thoughts, today we have discussed the history, the geography, and political scenario developing, which might lead to civil war. It was indeed a very pleasure and honor, Col Satish Tyagi, to discuss this matter. Few questions or observations made by me were from the point of view of ignorant. You handled them very commendably, and I appreciate your patience and sparing your time. And viewers are requested to keep connected with our all future discussions. Subscribe the channel. You get the early intimation of our forthcoming discussions. And Kantyagi sir, I will
Yes.
be very pleased and honored to make similar requests in future also. Should it be of your liking and choosing, you are always welcome to uh, discussions we have regularly on almost every week, Saturday and Sunday. We try to bring a very topical subject. And in the end, I again play awareness video of what we are doing in ICISS.
Let me thank you